So we're here with Jason Shibata. It was so cool. I saw Jason. I haven't seen you in a long time, and I saw the fireball on the board. And Aaron says to me, "Hey, I think that guy has a fireball." And so I saw you, and then Aaron got some waves. So how did it happen? Where'd you see the board? Tell me about it.
Thanks, Noel. I saw the board on Instagram. I follow Dennis. I follow Spyder Surfboards, and I've always been a fan of Spyder as a brand. Never got to meet Dennis, but been a fan of his work. Like in my later teens, watching Conan Hayes, Greg Browning, Ben Bourgeois, like all of the guys riding the boards, and I was always like interested in that there's a shaper from pretty much like LA area, and that had a lot of great surfers. Alex Gray also, is a little younger than me riding the boards. And after time, known the name, grew up with it. And then with Instagram, that's a great thing about social media is like you're able to follow these things and find these things that are still going. And so I saw that Dennis was doing these boards, and then at the same time thinking back to, the Search movies with Tom Curran riding that 5'3" fish at Bawa, and I've surfed Bawa, so knowing the wave and then watching the movies of what he was doing on them, I was like, whoa, like I want to get one, and at the same time, typically I'm 5'3". I don't like riding too short of a board. I ride a 5'9", 5'10" as my conventional shortboard. So when I got it, I had this vision in mind that I wanted a high performance shortboard with the same theory,
Right.
with the fireball, with the channels and the slot and everything, and it's been great. Ideally, I wanted a board that I could ride at, say, Haleiwa or Velzeland, a wave with a lot of suck on it, like a good cup, something that I could really like put on rail and really engage like in the pocket, and it's done that for me. And I called Dennis and I was like, hey, you know what, super psyched on the board, like it's working exactly how I wanted to. And he's like, okay, now go try it in some softer waves. Like, I'm telling you, it's gonna work. So I took it to the South Shore. I rode it at Kewalo Basin. I've ridden it in some softer waves on the east side. Change up the fins when the waves are a lot more cuppy and critical. I like to use the Channel Islands fins, and then when the waves get softer, I change to the reactors, or I'll ride the Kolohes, and just to get that little extra release off the top. And it's surprisingly enough, with this pulled in outline versus kind of the outline that he's been making for a lot more people, I love it. It's worked in everything, and that's also the beauty of fins, right? It makes a board that's beautiful and fit to waves, different kinds of waves, but the fin still works. You know?
So Jason, I was looking at your board compared to my board. My board's 5'6.5", and mine's made for more like SoCal waves. We're summertime right now. I told him I wanted it maybe like the 2 to 6 foot surf. But if we look at your board, I look at it's way more pulled in here. It's way narrower. Your wide point looks like it's a little bit back from center compared to mine, and then the tail's pulled in. Did you do that on purpose with Dennis when you called in to order that? What happened?
So that was some of the key points in our conversation. When I asked for a high performance shortboard, obviously having the narrower tail to sit into the wave, being able to turn it over, and then also taking the ears off of the board. I tend to surf a little more from, I guess, the center of my board. I've predominantly started more front foot and kind of working on getting more back footed. So by not having those extra ears and able to like really turn it on rail, dig it down, without having this kind of extra surface area
to catch,
and just letting it flow has been, it's exactly as what I envisioned in my mind. Obviously, the X factor was not knowing how the fireball bottom was going to work, but as far as the overall outline, it was insane. And I really appreciate that about Dennis. He was really open in the conversation to listen to what I wanted versus, and in knowing that obviously he knows board design way better than I do.
Sure.
But he took, I guess, the aesthetics of what I wanted in the board,
Right.
and then really fine-tuned it. And I'm really happy. Typically, I like to ride my boards with a lot more volume, thicker. Like my arms are shorter, it's harder for me to catch waves. So typically, for someone my size, riding a board that's 2 7/16 thick, that's pretty thick,
Right,
you know.
right.
But you know, he didn't question it, and what was really cool is after he designed the board, we talked about design. I was able to see visually how the rails were, the overall outline of the board, and with that we fine-tuned it even more. And when I got the board, I was so stoked to get what I saw on the computer. And that's something that honestly I've never gotten to do before, is actually look at the file before it's shaped and actually have some input on the final
Right.
design of the cut.
Sure.
And I'm just really stoked.
Sick. So I saw you surfing it, big lowers. It was chunky, south wind, real choppy. We got like 3 waves of you surfing.
Cool.
And you have anything negative to say about how it felt out there? It looked good to me on video. It was really knifing through the water nice.
I have nothing negative to say about the board. I was really pleased with how it worked, especially after riding in Hawaii in such juice.
Yeah.
And then coming here, you know, there was a lot of size, there was power in the wave. It obviously doesn't have as much scoop to it as it does in Hawaii. But yet at the same time, after Dennis told me to try it in some lesser quality waves at home,
Right.
and I felt the way that it felt. When I showed up and lowers like 5-6 feet and just reeling down the line, I was like, perfect. Like, and so, I mean, for anyone looking for a board that can work in steep hollow waves, you know, a little flatter, like, you know, 40-degree slope with a little mushy coping that's not like barreling, like, this board works in everything.
Yeah.
And just a big part of it, I think, is communication. Obviously, speaking with the shaper, because they can put your ideas and develop it into a board that really suits you and the waves that you're gonna surf. And I'm just really honored and lucky that, you know, hitting Dennis up out of the blue. He's busy, you know, and he's got a lot of people that this board's in high demand, you know, and for him to like really take the time to sit and try and make me something that I really wanted is like, it's a real privilege.
So we're talking about the nose of the board. We flipped the boards around. I was looking at your channels compared to my channels, and only because Dennis was pointing this out that he shaped yours different than mine. But it's really good for everybody to see on the review here is how close your channel is to the edge of the rail and how much further mine is. So he was just talking about how I'm surfing a slopier wave like you were talking about, and he wanted mine to be a little more forgiving, and that's how it felt. And yours, he was saying, because it's out here more towards the rail, it's almost like having a fin out there for getting that cup and that traction on your turns. Is that what it felt like? Or?
I can really feel it. So like I said, I tend to be more of a front-footed surfer, and, you know, really focusing on trying to get back more over the tail. And then when you kind of transition your weight back to be able to push it up and get more vertical versus kind of like more out on the face and carvy and slashy. This board actually really helped me to do that. I could really feel the difference with having, you know, the step cut out, and then so kind of being front-footed, I could feel it as I bottom turned, and then as I shift the weight back, as more of, instead of half of the board being in the water, more like the last third of the board being in the water, like getting it up, I can feel the water like propelling through the middle here, and then out the tail, and then as you're like coming up, it's just like rocketing, it's like boosting up towards the top. And then at the same time, when you're like starting to get your turn back down, you start to get your turn back down, and when you're really engaged over the rail, like, man, I can really feel it, like just holding like all the way back through, and then kind of again shifting your weight back just over the tail so you engage the fins to like have that full sweep. It feels exceptionally well. Like, And now that you pointed this out, I'm interested in trying something like yours, a little shorter,
Right.
a little wider. You know, I would like to see if I could feel the difference in this, and
Sure.
I know there will be a difference because, I mean, every little thing makes a big difference. And
Sure.
I also noticed that our fin placements are a little different.
Yeah, yours
my,
is
my fin is a little more forward,
Right.
and obviously for more speed down the line projection, and
Right.
where this wave, this one's probably designed for a little softer and more like tighter,
Yeah.
because the wave might be shorter, where I was
Sure.
thinking mine was more down the line.
Right.
And so a higher degree of turn.
Right.
So I'm pretty interested in trying a variation of this, you
Right.
know. And I'd also probably like to try this in maybe like a 6.2.
Sure.
You know, like a 6.2 rounded pin could be insane.
Right, right.
So, you know, I just want to thank Dennis for making this like insane board. Like it's, I feel like it's helping progress my surfing. And you know, being a professional surfer, I've tried a lot of different things, and this is something totally new and for me. And I'm really excited I had the chance to ride it, and I really encourage, you know, no matter what level of surfer you are, to try it, to feel something different than your regular conventional surfboard design.
I agree. Yeah, totally different. He calls it the fireball fish. Dennis Jarvis, Spyder Surfboards. Hey, Jason, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you,
We
Noel.
appreciate it, man. And
Thank
thanks
you.
for breaking down the boards with me. This was a lot of fun.
Surfing show.